Hello, friends. It's me, and it is time once again for a story. I'm a little worried about this one, but let's just get right into it. This is from Reddit user Demonic Deviation. It's a pretty cool name, actually. This is my abuser was probably a neckbeard. I'm already scared, but here we go. Okay, so I really don't know how to start one of these things since it's my first and probably only time posting anything on Reddit. I'm writing this out partially as a form of therapy and partially because I realize this and I feel that Moonhorse and the rest of this thread would be the most respectable place to post this. I mean, everyone's welcome to share things here. That's just how I run this whole community, so. Before I get into the story, I just want to say some things about myself. I'm Ash, currently 17, and all this happened back when I was 11. Oh, I'm already scared. I'm also a trans man, but at the time I didn't realize that. Also, major content warning for abuse. Yeah, this is... oh boy, here we go. So this happened back in 6th grade when I met this kid. His name is Aiden. He had another friend, but in all honesty, he's not that integral to this story other than causing me massive paranoia down the line. I was, and still am, a fat, nerdy, autistic kid. So due to this, I never really had a lot of friends, and kids are really mean when you're 10 with anger issues due to no one responding properly to you, and being bullied, you become pretty desperate for friends, especially in a class you hate. It was during PE when I met Aiden. At the time, he was a bit chubby like myself, and we shared a lot of interests, the biggest one being anime. We would always talk about it constantly. I genuinely thought this dude was a friend, and we're both pretty much isolated from the rest of our grade. This was years ago, and most of the memories I have become hazy in the fog that is trauma and PTSD, so I don't remember a lot of the conversations directly, but I do have some idea of the things he would say. Aiden was annoying. Like, really annoying. He would interrupt conversations, ask teachers things not related to the class, and looking back on it now, kind of creepy to the people around us. For one, he had no sense of personal space, and me, not yet traumatized by this, was perfectly willing to just indulge him. Aiden and I were never close during this time. We shared a few classes and hung out during them, but we're 11, so it never went further than that. This went on August through December. It changed, though, when winter break had come and I went back to school with a new schedule. As far as I could tell, the inciting incident were 3 things. My becoming closer friends with new friends and changing classes, and his grandfather passing away. Looking back now, it seems like he had some kind of a crush that later became an obsession that led to abuse. Not much of this really spells out Neckbeard, I know, but to give some perspective, Aiden didn't know what personal space was really arrogant, and would go out of his way to make others uncomfortable through sex jokes or jokes at the expense of minorities. Real classy. At the time, I thought I was a lesbian due to not knowing my gender yet. Turns out I'm actually just a gay trans man. And admitting to having a crush on a female friend, he called me disgusting and said that I needed a man in my life. Real fucking classy. He also told my blatantly homophobic school all of this, which led to a bunch of harassment from my peers who were assuming I was dating my friends. I'm still friends with these people. I love them, but platonically. The creepiness and lack of boundaries continued when I was unfortunately sat across from him on the table in my last period class. Something that Aiden didn't like was that 11-year-old me was extremely focused on their studies and didn't want to spend a class that he enjoyed ignoring the teacher to mess around. He would repeatedly toss volumes of manga onto my schoolwork while insisting that I read it, and I would respond by picking it up and tossing it back onto his desk. This would repeat for days at a time. Another time, while my classmate, who I usually sat next to, was absent, Aiden decided to sit next to me. During the class period, while we did this, he would lean uncomfortably close to me. Now, because I'm autistic, I do not like people invading my personal space, but because I was 11 and undiagnosed, I just grit my teeth and bear it. The icing on this horror cake of hell, eventual trauma, was when we were done reading out of the textbook and we were working on an assignment. He decided to suggestively talk about what was basically sexually assaulting me with his tentacles. That's both disturbing and horrifying. I obviously didn't know how to respond to that and just uncomfortably sank farther away from him and tried to ignore him, but as usual, he continued to repeat this until he tried to grab my arm and I elbowed him. Violence was the only way to get him to stop stuff like this, and this went on for months. I didn't even realize this was taking a toll on me, and neither did my mom, until my grades started dropping and I would feel sick during class with what I know was anxiety. It came to a head one day in the morning when my mom noticed that I was looking kind of down and asked me what was wrong and if something happened. And I just kind of broke down and explained everything to her. A little bit of information about my mother is that she was and still is a teacher at the school I went to. So, like the angel she is, she went to the school administration during her planning period to report this issue. The next bit kind of shows Aiden's inability to accept responsibility for his own actions, seeing every wrongdoing as someone else's fault. So Mom reported the harassment. There was more, but I don't remember it at the moment. And sometime that day, Aiden was pulled aside and told that if he didn't cut it out, he wouldn't be able to go on the school field trip to one of the state's amusement parks. While we were waiting to be let into our last period, Aiden cornered me against the lockers and yelled at me how this was my fault and that because of me, he might get his field trip taken away. I was on the verge of tears. This incident was the reason why I didn't tell anyone anything that happened after this. Aiden convinced me that this was all my fault. What a real classy guy. Soon the school year ended. There were more incidents of abuse, but I either don't remember them clearly enough to write them out, or I'm not really willing to. You would think that because the school year ended, this was over, right? No. I don't want to get into the details of the emotional wreck that I was over that summer as my trauma and PTSD caused by this really started to set in and take effect. But when I got back to school, my mother stressed that I was not to be put in any classes with Aiden due to this action. Did this stop him? Of course not. Aiden proceeded to stalk me for the next 2 years. As I was going into 7th grade, he would try to sit closer and closer to me and my friend group. He did this for months, trying to weasel his way in. He thought my friends threatening him to leave me alone was just funny, and would laugh as one of them physically dragged him away, only for him to get up and run back. It got so bad that starting in January onward, I had to eat lunch in my mom's classroom with only 2 of my friends, further driving a wedge between myself and others. Due to all this, I was extremely depressed. I was losing friends because of this. I was suicidal at the age of 12. The climax of my 7th grade year was me having a complete mental breakdown after school one day, and then proceeding to spend the next 2 weeks at home isolating myself from my friends. The only really good thing to come from this breakdown was my autism diagnosis and me finally being put on antidepressants. Aiden's stalking, however, did not stop, but it did slow down after this. My mother amped up her demands to keep him away from me. And it worked for the most part, but unfortunately, Aiden did not stop stalking me until I went into high school. He would try to contact me through my friends, or get close to me in the hallways or at the bus stop. This last time he tried to get close to me and my friends when he tried to ask out my childhood friend in the middle of freshman year. She, of course, turned him down and blocked him, especially after hearing about what he had done to me from me. As far as I know, Aiden has not changed, and in fact has gotten worse. High school only pushed him further into neckbearddom. Although he has friends in his freshman year, they eventually left, and now people only hang out with him because he sells weed. I don't really care what he's up to, and frankly I feel no sympathy for him either, especially after what he did to me. It wasn't sexual or physical abuse, but it was still 3 years of harassment, stalking, and emotional abuse. I will forever hate him for that. If it concerns anyone, I'm doing much, much better. I've been on antidepressants for 5 years in January, and have mostly healed from this experience. I still deal with PTSD, but I've gained a group of supportive friends who never really knew Aiden. Although I still experience depression, I can genuinely say that there are times when I'm happy. I didn't even realize that he could technically count as a neckbeard until I was drawing anime fan art while listening to Moonhorse's Neckbeard stories when it dawned on me. I don't really have any other neckbeard stories since I'm not technically the kind of person that neckbeards are attracted to. My autism and extreme introversion leads me to isolate myself, so I don't really find myself in their dwellings. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my story. It felt nice to get this out and to tell someone. Well, I want to say, first off, thank you for sharing this, Ash. That was incredibly brave. And I am so sorry that you had to deal with this. That is... I mean... It's unfucking called for, is what it is. This guy really... You know, part of me wants to say so many things, but the other part keeps stopping me because I realize his age. And that's where this starts to get really conflicting for me. Because, you know, I'm kind of an adult here. But do at any point in time, I think that you should have had to deal with any of these things from him. And the answer is abso-fucking-lutely not. That is totally uncalled for. The way that he fucking stalked and harassed you is absolute fucking bullshit. And he should have never been able to do these things. Like, the fact that they didn't take you and your mother seriously whenever you told them about this, the school needs to be fucking ashamed of themselves. That's just, like, seriously, fuck that. Fuck that, because that's not okay. Like, even if, you know, even if the administration's whole thing is like, well, we don't know, well, then what's the fucking harm in, like, moving, you know, their schedules? What's the fucking harm in making this kid feel better about being in a class? How is that fucking hurting you? You know? Why you gotta be such a dick? Schools are like that. They can be absolute fucking assholes sometimes, and it's just like, there's a reason why nobody has good memories of being in school. Okay, very few people do. I, for one, hated the entire experience. Funny enough, I also learned that I'm an autodidact because I can teach myself everything because the school fucking failed. Good job, fellas. Love it. Anyway, getting back on topic. The topic here being that this was just not okay. This fucking kid should know. Like, he should learn and know better, but I'm getting the distinct impression that he's not the kind of person who learns from his mistakes and instead rather doubles down on said mistakes and thinks that whatever he's doing is just funny and it's fine. Haha. Yeah. Hey, Aiden. You're not fucking funny. Okay? And you should listen to me because I'm your elder. And I happen to be magical. That's a double shot. But again, I am so sorry that you had to go through all that. That is just fucking awful, man. But as someone who went through a lot of the depression and a lot of PTSD from horrible things like that, I want you to know that it gets better on the other side. And you can get there. I absolutely 100% believe that. So, just, you know, focus on you, focus on being better, and focus on doing the things that make you happy. And everything else will work out. I am really glad to hear that you're doing better, though. That really does make me happy. And I'm sure, you know, it makes everybody happy, but at the same time, it's a wonderful thing. Just know that, you know, this weird-ass community that we've built, we all love you. And you're one of us. One of us. One of us. I'm sorry, I had to. As soon as I thought up the phrase, it was like, well, that's a dumb joke, and all 6 of you in the audience will probably get it. But hey, there you are. Hi. But I am glad that you felt confident enough to share this story with us. And thank you so much for that. And, you know, I hope everything works out. And I hope you're doing better. I mean, you said you are, but I also hope you're doing better than that. To get better than better. Double it. Triple it. Quadruple it? Dare we even? No, I'm just reaching. But anyway, I love you all so very much. If you have a story you'd like to send me, you can send it to r/Moonhorse Stories. I check it every day, so I will see it. And if you'd like to get some crazy things from my merch shop, there's quite a lot of crazy things in said merch shop. There's links to that and more, and the little drop-down thingy. Also, I have an address. You can send weird stuff to my P.O. box. I open those on video. That's a thing. Anyway, enough talking. Time to end this video. Love you all so very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, friends. Goodbye!